So play ball. This one's in the key of G, which is right away kind of different for AC/DC because most of their stuff is in A or E. I don't know every single one of their songs. I'm not an AC/DC aficionado or anything. But the only other song I know that's in G is You Shook Me All Night Long. But most of their stuff is in A or E. Okay, so we're in G here. I read some reviews on this song, and it's the typical stuff from reviewers, you know. It's like, oh yeah, AC/DC, same old thing, you know, like blah blah blah. But to me, like every single song they do is great because the guitar playing, no matter if the format is similar, the beats are similar, the guitar playing is always excellent, and the way they organize their stuff really sets them apart with their open chords, and I mean they just sound like nobody else. And this song is no exception. Actually, there's some really cool stuff in this song, and a couple of things. There's an E flat in here, and a B flat, which I thought I would never live to see the day that AC/DC would play B flat or E flat. Okay, and actually, when he plays that E flat, he's doing that lick there, and that lick at some point hits the D, right? And you got an E flat, and you got a D in the lead. It's passing. It doesn't last long, but so you actually get that. You get that effect of an E major 7. So you know you'd never ever think of AC/DC on an E major 7, but it is there. Even if it's just for a quick second, it flashes by. So there's some different stuff in here. Okay, so we start in G. Okay, and what's happening is I see some guys playing it like this. Or like this. Or like this. And you know, if you're in a bar band and whatnot, and you want to play it that way, I mean, it'll work. People will get up and dance, and they'll love it, right? But the thing is, if you want to go a little deeper and find out what makes these guys sound so good and what makes them so smart, you really want to listen to what they're doing here, okay? So it actually took me a while to figure this out because there's some things going on here that are just unique to the song and to AC/DC, to their approach, right? Okay, so enough talking. We're going to start in the first lick. So there's two guitars, right? So we're going to start with Angus's part, the main part. He's going to start out with a G, okay, with that A string muted. And we're just going to play the E string, the D string, and the G string. So that's your first chord. Okay, second chord is going to be like a C, but with no third. So take your middle finger off and mute the D string, okay? So you're getting C, G, and C. Okay, so the first chord, you're getting G, D, and G. So root, 5, root. And the next chord, exactly the same thing. Root, 5, root. So, okay. No third in there, okay? And you don't want to play that high E either. It's just those 4 strings, but you're muting, you know, the A string. And then the middle 4 strings muting the D string. So you maybe just want to practice that, right? So you got 2 real powerful power chords with the open strings, right? Now the next chord is kind of the trick to the lick, to the way it sounds so cool. And what he does there is he just puts his little finger on the F here, on D3, and he bars here. Okay, and he plays the last 4 strings with the open G. Okay, so you get that great chord. It's like an F power chord with the G, makes it an F9. Gives it that really open sound, right? And it's actually, if you think of like Hot Blooded, right? It's that same chord. Except you're not playing the C, you're just playing that F. Okay, so it's like first 3 chords. Back to the second chord. Okay. Right? Okay, and you want to get that little grace note on the G there. There. so that's how he's doing that. I mean, all of this is just my opinion, right? But I'm pretty confident about that because I had a real good listen to it. And okay, so that's the first lick, Angus. Now, the other part, which is usually Malcolm, but I guess now it's their cousin, is it? I'm not sure. Stevie. And his part goes like this, okay? So he's going to start on that same G, okay? Just with the muted A string, first 4 strings, muted A string. And he's going to go like this. Okay, so just into a C chord, and then a C suspended with your finger, little finger here. Okay, that's the first part. The first chord is there. And you can play that whole C chord. You can put the E in there, okay? Or you can just, whatever you want there, really. I'm not sure if I hear the E in there or not, but it'll work. So what Stevie is doing is he's covering the thirds, okay? So on the first chord, he just power chord, then the C with the third, right? And then we go back to the G, and he's putting that third in, okay? And instead of fingering it like that, I find it a lot easier to finger it like this, okay? So third finger on E3, second finger on A2. So, and his grace note is actually an open A. Right? So he's getting the third there in G, and the third there in C, while Angus is doing fifths. So it's like, I remember hearing Angus interviewed once, and he said that him and Malcolm tried to be like one huge guitar. And that's pretty well exactly what this is. It's one huge guitar. Right? So Angus got the fifths, the other guy's got the thirds. But he ends on the fifth, okay, on just the power chord. So that whole part for Stevie would be a... See, I hit that B there, but I don't want to. I just want to hit the G. Okay, so that's the beginning, and that's the chorus, okay? So you've got the chorus taken care of now as well. But except the chorus does jump up to the... That, we'll cover that in a minute. Okay, so now Angus sort of takes over the song, and he starts with this part. So it's just the first part of that lick, right? It's the first part of the intro. Okay? And I was kind of debating whether he used an upstroke on that F chord, but I don't think so. I think it's all downstroke. Okay? So that's how he starts it. Just the G, the C5, and then the F9. Okay, then he does this lick. And he hybrid picks it, okay? So he just uses his pick and his middle finger for the B string. And how that lick works is, I don't know if you're familiar with these kind of third licks. But if you're in a C chord here, you can just take your third and your root here, and just... And it's a little trick that you can use in your playing. It duplicates up here. Okay? So that's what he's doing there. And he's just kind of hammering on from the open D to the E. Right? And kind of sliding up. Instead of going, he just stays on the G there. Okay? So... Okay, so that whole lick slowly would be... Okay, and we want to make sure we get that little grace note on the G. Okay, so don't forget that. That makes a big difference in the whole feel of the lick. Okay, so he just keeps doing that on and on and on. And then eventually Stevie comes in and he goes like this. Okay, so he's again working the thirds, right? Just a C chord there, and then and you can hit these hard, like AC/DC, they hit their strings really hard. They use super heavy strings too, right? But the harder you hit them, the better it's going to sound. So. And you can use that high E or not, right? Whatever you think sounds best, but it'll work if you want to hit that high E, okay? So. It just repeats, okay, until we get to the chorus, and then we're back to that. So, now, the chorus for Angus actually does the same thing. Okay, and then he jumps up to a C chord, and he plays that C with the open G, just fifths, and then an F. Grace note on the F, on the D string. Okay, and while he's doing that, the other guy, Stevie, is doing this. Grace note on the open D. And really hit him hard, right? Okay, and then they both just go to a G while that lick goes on, right? The chorus part for Malcolm will be this. Okay, and for Stevie would be this. Okay, and then to that open G. And over top of that, there's another guitar that does this. Okay, so we're just going to pick here, and we can use our second and third fingers to pick that. So we're going to start here on G5 and D7, going to G5, B5, G5, B6, down to D5, G5. So it's right. Repeat. Repeats a bunch of times, and then when we get the chord change, we're up here. So we're at D10, G12, up to G10, B10, and it just stays there. It doesn't go, as far as I can tell, it just stays here. And then we got this lick, and And that's just in the G minor pentatonic shape. Just bending up here in G6 or B6, right, to E3. Pull off. Down a B6 to B3. G5 to G3 to D5. So sometimes he'll go land on those two notes, and that is kind of delayed, right? We don't want to go. We want to go. Okay, and that lick recurs, okay, later on too. So far we're doing good here. After that chorus finishes, we're back into the back into another verse, right? Another chorus. The only other part is the solo part. That's a bit different, okay? So when we end the chorus, we're ending here. And then what happens, we modulate up to an A. Just same thing. Right? And we just A here, A power chord. Okay, and then over the solo, both guitars do this. Just that rock and roll thing, right? Okay, really, really simple. I'm not going to do the solo here because to me it's not real. You know, it's great. Angus is great. I love his playing, but it's not a real big part of the song. So then we get back into the chorus, and that's basically it, except the ending. And the ending, we're back to this. That just repeats a bunch of times, but the chord's below chain, so we're like, then we're at a B flat, which is crazy for AC/DC. When I just do it here, just bar it there, or you could play it up here. I like it. I like it better there. So. Up to E flat, right? Same chord as B flat, just up here on what is that? A6, and then the D and G string on it. D8, G8, B flat, right? So we got. And that's the part where they're actually. That D note over that gives us that. E flat major 7. I never, my wildest dreams, would have thought I would hear AC/DC playing a major 7th. And I mean, technically they're not, but having that D there just for that fraction of a second makes that, okay? So, and then we're down to C, and then ended on the G power chord. Okay, so that's pretty well it. You know, Phil Rudd is just an awesome drummer, and the bass player too. You know, you never remember the bass player's name, right? And it escapes me right now. But he's a great bass player, and him and Phil Rudd, they just put the brakes on these songs. You know, they pull it way back. So also, as a guitarist, you want to kind of play back in the pocket as much as you can. You don't want to rush these songs, right? You want to stay back as far as you can. And in the demo at the beginning, I really tried, because I'm playing to a drum machine, right? And I mean, to play AC/DC to a drum machine is just brutal, because there's no feel there, right? The drums just ding, 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 right? So what I tried to do is I tried to be as far back in the pocket as I could, to give it a bit more feel. I don't know if it worked out or not, but anyways, that's it for that one. Another great song, another classic riff. I don't know where he keeps getting these from, but they're awesome. And hopefully Malcolm gets better, and they get back to the original lineup. Anyways, I hope you get something out of this one. We'll see you next time.